What's up, everybody? Dada coming at you again. So I know I've been gone for a while, but we'll talk about that a little bit later towards the end of the video. Right now, I'm going to give you guys my pre and post NASM experience as when it comes to taking the final certificate exam thingy. So I purchased the NASM exam I think it was actually the 4th of July of 2020. And I'm just now taking it, August 7th, 2020. My scheduled time remotely is to take it at 9:10, and it's like 8:50 or something like right now. So I'm taking it very soon. But I'll give you guys the kind of, not obviously not a play-by-play, but my thoughts and experience on taking a NASM after. Obviously, I wasn't studying every single day. I don't have an exercise science background, but I already knew most of the stuff anyway. Obviously, I wasn't studying. I mean, it's not obvious, but I wasn't studying really every single day. I was just, studying the most important stuff. I mean, I did read the entire book, but there's a few things that after I read it, I was like, this isn't important. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and feelings on the exam and what I think is the most important things to study. As well as important chapters and like one particular page number that you guys are definitely going to want to know if you guys are studying from the 6th edition. So I'll see you guys in I don't know, an hour and a half. All right, and that is it. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 10:20 a.m.
Okay, so my exam started at 9:15 or 9:10. I had to sign in, and it's obviously remotely because of the whole COVID thing. Remotely, I had to talk to the proctor who was going to take me through everything, and I started taking the exam probably around 9:20 actually. So it took about an hour. You have 2 hours to do it. There's 120 questions. I passed. I don't know if I said that already, but I did. So now I guess I'll go over what I did, or the most important parts of the entire NASM, 6th edition. Obviously, read all your chapters, chapter 1 through 20. Some are a lot more important than others. But read through the entire book once, if you have just a self-study. If you have the guided course thing, it doesn't really help that much, honestly. So I don't think I'd recommend it, because I bought this, the guided study, July 4th. It was 4th of July. It was a sale, so it was like 30% off. So I would have had to pay for the second tier anyway. So I got the third tier basically for free during the 4th of July, which is what they wanted. But pretty much all they really do is the instructor will ask a question once a week, and then students answer it. And I don't even know what happens after that, because the guided study didn't even start until September 21st, and I was already halfway done with studying by then, so I never even really used it. So I really wouldn't recommend it. So chapters I would definitely focus on for this exam. Chapter 6, 7, and 13 are going to be the most important chapters of the entire certification exam study thing. Just because, chapter 13 talks about the OPT model, which is the NASM model that is it's their baby, that they created it. So basically all you need to know for the OPT model is it'll take you literally 2 minutes to learn it. But there's 3 stages, the stabilization stage, the strength stage, and the power stage. And there's 5 different phases for all 3 stages. So stabilization has 1 phase, strength has 3 phases, which is muscular endurance, hypertrophy, which is how I train, and muscular maximum strength, which is powerlifting stuff. And then, stage 5 is just power stuff. So that's pretty easy to learn. That's chapter 6. No, that's chapter 13. Chapter 6 is basically, chapter 6 and 7 is basically all the underactive and overactive muscles. So they're going to ask a lot of questions on that. And the page I would highly recommend you focus on, for out of those 3 chapters, the most important page, if you're using the 6th edition, is page 196. So page 196 basically has a chart of the overactive muscles and the underactive muscles. Whenever and they use overactive and shortened interchangeably, and underactive and lengthened interchangeably. So whenever you see one of those, just know it's basically through this table. They also talk about pronation distortion, which is basically when your knees are inward and your feet are out. Lower cross syndrome, which is when your lower back arches, and then upper cross syndrome, which is when you have a forward lean and your arms move forward. But that chart in 196, again, 196, that's a very, very important page. Just talks about overactive muscles, which ones they are, and underactive muscles, which ones they are. They'll have questions, like the exam will have a question like this. A client's knees are pointing inward. Which of these muscles is overactive, or which of these muscles needs to be stretched? And the adductors is one of those overactive muscles that needs to be stretched. And so if you see adductor, just pick that one. Literally what they'll have is basically all underactive muscles and then one overactive muscle, and then that's the one you pick. They don't try to like confuse you by having one overactive muscle for a different like upper cross and then one overactive muscle for lower cross. Is literally just all underactive muscles and all lower. So basically, if you memorize that chart, which ones are overactive and which ones are underactive, you got it. It's super easy. Other chapters we'll focus on after that. Obviously, again, read the entire book. Chapters 10, 11, and 12. 10 would be balance training, 11 would be plyometrics, and 12 would be speed, agility, and quickness. Not so much the speed, agility, and quickness, but definitely chapter 10 and 11, they're going to talk about a little bit. They're also going to be talking about core training and cardio, respiratory. They're going to be talking about nutrition a little bit. They'll be talking about the business stuff, just very, very little. Everything else, literally most of the stuff that they're going to hit you on is what's underactive and what's overactive. What is upper cross syndrome? What is lower cross syndrome? What is pronation distortion syndrome? They're going to ask about the overhead squat assessment. They love that. That's on chapter 6, I think. Overhead squat assessment and like the different assessments, like the pulling assessment, obviously pulling your back, pushing assessment, pushing your chest, and the different synergist muscles. Like for your chest would be like the triceps and your delts. For the synergist muscles for your pulling, it's obviously your biceps. Like if you're a trainer, you probably know. If you're trying to be a trainer, you probably already know all this stuff anyway. So definitely the assessments, they'll talk about the YMCA. Mine didn't have it, but yours probably will. The different assessments before you start training a client, like the YMCA walk test, the Rockport, the YMCA step test, the Rockport walk test, which again wasn't in my exam, but it'll probably be in yours maybe. The Shark test, the Davies test, those are in chapter 6, I believe. So again, chapter 6 is a huge, huge chapter. Yeah, so I mean, that was pretty much it. It's not that hard. I will say this though, obviously read the book, obviously take all the practice exams if you're not just getting the book. If you have some of those exams on the computer, which I do recommend, just not the course guided study, I wouldn't recommend that one. But if you can, have practice exams on the computer, I would highly recommend that. Or the quizzes. So there's basically 10 modules. Module 1 is chapters 1 and 13. Module 2 is chapter 6. Module 3 is chapter I don't know. I don't remember all the modules. Module 5 is basically the halfway point, the midterm, and they go over through modules 1 through 4. 1 through 4 is going to be a majority of the exam, like 65% of the exam. And then modules 6, 7, and 8 6, 7, 8, and 9 are like the other 35%. And of those, chapters 10, 11, and 12, which is I think module 6, is going to be a majority of that. So it's not that difficult. So take the quizzes, take the exams. If you don't get at least 80%, just take it again. Like the practice exams, is not exactly, because this was a little more difficult than the practice exams that they gave me, which was BS, but whatever. But the practice exams and the final certificate exam is 120 questions. Normally in the practice exams, I can get through those 120 questions in 40 minutes. This one took about an hour because this was just a tad more difficult. At least for mine, they definitely asked cues for some reason. What would you say if this client had was internally rotating their knees? Like, what would you say to them? Like, what cue? Those weren't in any of the practice exams at all. But, you know, since you kind of know the material, you kind of know it. I don't know how many questions I got wrong. All I know is that I have to get at least a 70% or higher to pass it. So I at least did that. So if you just follow those steps, don't worry about doing any of the note cards that are on the guided study or whatever it is. I never used them. If you want to use Quizlet, which, you know, if you're a millennial, you know what Quizlet is. If you want to use Quizlet, that's fine. Oh, also, YouTube has like literally everything. I'm not, shout out to Show Up Fitness. Just type in Show Up Fitness and NASM, and he'll kind of go over things like very abridged. There's also one of the NASM instructors who instructs, I guess, the guided study or whatever, who uploaded it all to YouTube. It's like Jeff something. So I would recommend watching all of his videos, and his videos are like, you know, 30 minutes to like an hour. So if you're like working out, doing cardio or something like that, just, you know, whenever I was, you know, on the elliptical for like 40 minutes, I would listen to one of the chapters over again. But YouTube would be another good resource. But those quizzes are they're gonna help a lot. But if you just, you know, follow those key steps, again, there's 20 chapters, not all of them are super important. Chapter 6, 7, and 13, I'm pretty sure are gonna be like 40 to 50% of the exam. Like those assessments, what's underactive, what's overactive, and like the different like postural imbalances, like pronation distortion. I'm going to say it again: pronation distortion, knees are in, lower cross syndrome, your back is arched, and you're forward leaning a little bit, and upper cross syndrome, arms fall forward, your neck is protruding, and so your sternoclenoid mastoid, which is like right here, is extended or overactive. So again, you need to be stretched. That's the most important thing about this exam. So this is 2020. Anybody who is concerned about it, if you just study for like a month, and if you study more than I did, you'll be fine. I didn't even study that much. Like maybe the days I did study, it was about an hour. Not much. You know, it's just reading a chapter or something like that, and then doing something like on the quiz or something like that. I did take the quizzes multiple times, but just to make sure I had it, but you'll be fine. And if not, whatever. It's just luck of the draw. Sometimes, like, my questions were way more difficult than the practice exams, because the practice exams I was getting like 95% on it. This one I probably got maybe like an 80, because there was a few questions I was like, this wasn't talked about, but I kind of just used process of elimination kind of thing. So I need to get my hair cut. So that's it, and good luck.